ISKCON संस्थापक आचार्य वैष्णव भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद
जय।
परम भागवत श्री गौर किशोरदास बाबू जी महाराज।
जय।
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories of simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories of
Hare Krishna.
all
Hare
glories of simple
Krishna.
devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Am I audible? Everyone? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Saiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Rashtraprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtikhi Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter number 18, text number 30. Please repeat. Satu Brahma Risheramshe Gadasum Uragam Rusha Vinirkachan Danushkotya Nidaya Puramagataha Satu Brahma Risheramshe Gadasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Danushkotya Nidaya Puramagataha Satu Brahma Risheramshe Gadasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Danushkotya Nidaya Puramagataha.
Satu Brahma Risheramse Gatusum Uragam Rusha Chandanuskotya Nidaya Puramagataha.
Satu Brahma Risharamse Katasam Uragam Rusa Vinirgachandanuskocha Nidhaya Purnam Gata.
Satu Brahma Risheramshe Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Dhanushkotya Nidaya Purnamagataha.
Satu Brahma Risheramse Gata Samargamasa Nagachandanaskocha Nidaya Puramagataha.
Satu Brahman Seramse Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachandanuskotya Nidaya Purnamagataha.
Satu Brahma Seramse Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachandanuskotya Nidaya Purnamagataha.
Vidaya Purnamagataha.
Satu Brahma Rishiram say.
Satu Brahma Rishiram say.
Tasum Uragam Risha.
Gatasum Uragam Risha.
Vinirgachandanuskotya.
Vinirgachandanuskotya.
Vidaya Puramagataha.
Vidaya Puramagataha.
Satu Brahma Rishayam say.
Satu Brahma Rishiram say.
Gatasum Uragam Rusha.
Gatasum Uragam Risha.
Vinirgachandanuskotya.
Vinirgachandanuskotya.
Vidaya Purnamagataha.
Vidaya Puramagataha.
Word to word meaning. Saha,
Saha,
the king.
the king.
Tu,
Two,
however,
however,
Brahmarashe,
Brahmashe,
of the Brahmana sage,
Brahmana sage,
Amshe,
Amse,
on the shoulder,
on the shoulder,
Gata Asum,
Gatasum,
lifeless,
lifeless,
Urugam,
Uragam,
snake,
snake,
Rusha,
Risha,
in anger,
in anger,
Vinirgachan,
Vinirgachan,
while living,
while leaving,
Dhanushkotya,
Ganuskotya,
with the front of the bow,
with the front of the bow,
Nidaya,
Nidaya,
by placing it,
by placing it,
Puram,
Puram,
palace,
Alice,
Agataha,
Agata,
return. Translation, Best Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
While living, the king, being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace. Purport Vishnu Prabhupada. The king thus treated the sage tit for tat, although he was never accustomed to such silly actions. By the will of the Lord, the king, while going away, found a dead snake in front of him, and he thought that the sage who has coldly received him thus might be coldly rewarded by being offered a garland of a dead snake. In the ordinary course of dealing, this was not very unnatural, but in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, dealing with a Brahmana sage, this was certainly unprecedented. It so happened by the will of the Lord. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadavakyam Dadati Svapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhagavum Lakaya Vigrim Nityapatamaham Bhante Shri Guru Tinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Vidinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Veshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Kalpatarubhya Shri Kripa Sundari Chapatala Bhavani Vaishnavi Namo. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to come to Talavana and associate with all the wonderful devotees here. And so I was told today in the morning by Prabhu to see if I can speak a few words about this verse. So I'm not prepared and I'm just trying to speak extempore, whatever comes to my mind. Forgive me for any offenses, any misgivings, any limitations. So this is a very beautiful verse, and Prabhupada adds a very beautiful perspective to the whole situation. So coming back to the context of this verse, so Maharaj Parikshit, so he has been touring a while throughout his kingdom, and he encounters different kinds of people. He meets Kali, Purusha, personified of age of Kali. And then he further goes along after giving him few places to reside. And while you see traveling that way in the jungle, so he becomes very thirsty and fatigued, and he looks for a place for shelter and also to quench his thirst and hunger. So he sees a hermitage, an ashram, and he goes inside the ashram to see an rishi, a saint. And this saint is fully in meditation. He's completely in complete meditation, and so any kind of request from the king is met with a silence, no response. So in the last few verses we've been seeing how king is responding to that kind of a situation is arising. With somebody, you go to someone's house and he's giving a very cold response, and a king is supposed to be the head of the state, so he is supposed to be received as good as God. So it's a representative of God, which means he is to be given due respect of God. Of course, the king, he shouldn't be expecting it, but the subjects should definitely be giving due respect that is due for a representative of God. We see from Chaitanya Charitamrita also. So Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, so they are working for as the ministers of a Muslim ruler, and the Muslim, he is an outcast from the Vedic perspective. So he is in no way considered to be a representative of Krishna. So, but still, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, so to give the respect, they tell him that you are a representative of God. So God has given you this position. So you are due for this respect. So you know better than anybody else. So that shows that how the subjects should regard the king as. So it is expected out of anybody, if the king visits one's house, it's expected that they give some place to sit. Prabhupada mentions in the purport of the previous verses that even if an enemy comes to one's house, you have to give him a lot of love and respect. So much so that he forgets that the enmity towards him. That's the Vedic tradition, Vedic culture. To give due Atiti Seva Bhava, to say. Atiti is one who is coming to one's house. He has to be regarded as Deva or a demigod. So should be given due respects. If he is not capable of giving all the upacharas, at least he should give a sitting place, a water, or some fruits or some food to eat. So that's the very least expected out of anybody. It's the proper etiquette to receive a king. But here, the Rishi is doing a higher dharma. So he is meditating on the Supreme Personality of God. How do we know that? Because we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam clearly says he is a Brahma Rishi. Satu Brahma Rishi Amshe. So what does a Brahma Rishi mean? So Brahmana sage. So Brahma Rishi is a very great position, in a very advanced stage of a Rishi. So, and Brahma Janati Ti Brahmana. So Brahmana means one who knows Brahman. So he's a very greatly advanced sage. Samika Rishi, it's a very greatly advanced sage. You can see that. And so much so that, so usually what happens, he's a Grihastha also. And the Grihastha usually, they make sure the house is well protected. And the house, the door is closed. Not anything can just come in. And any animal or any person can come and harm anybody else. So he's very protective. It's a nature, because he may have a lot of things, valuable things in the house. He may have young children to protect. So he's very careful, making sure that everything is taken care of. Nobody will leave their house open like that. But here we see in the last few verses, when Maharaj Parikshit sees, he sees it's an ashram. Ashrama means it's a place where there is penances performed. So he's not an ordinary person. And here it is confirmed again that he's a Brahma Rishi. He's a very great sage, very elevated sage. And he's so uncaring about his own well-being, his own protection. He's leaving his door open for anybody to come. That's the nature of a ashram. Ashrama means you have to keep it open. Temple is always open so that anybody can come. And it's a place where people who are very deceased from material point of view, materially deceased person, they can come and take shelter. Not just the physical disease, but the mental disease and the spiritual disease. So that which is everybody is lacking. So this is a place like a hospital. Srila Prabhupada mentions like a hospital where sick patients can come and take shelter, get cured. So similarly, an ashrama is a place where people can, it's an open door. So anybody can come in, they can take shelter, they can get help on spiritual aspects and get better from a spiritual point of view. So that's what Rishi is doing, he's keeping his door open. So much so that a snake has come in, the snake has died also. So that's what it is doing. Such an open door it is. So it's a very nice situation that we are described here. And so king comes in. Usually a rishi is a very gentle person. And more so if a king comes, he's very respectful. And which is shown a little later in the next few verses you will see that Shamika Rishi, he reprimands his son. How can you curse such a wonderful king? He's such a wonderful, he's like a father who's protecting the whole subjects like his children. And we're going to have it's a big loss for us. You did a grave mistake. So he's reprimanding his son. So he knows how to honor a king, for sure. But he is performing his higher dharma here. So Bhagavatam is so beautiful. It describes how different devotees interact. Sometimes the interactions is not as we expect. Interactions are unusual. But still we can understand how each one is performing their devotional service from their own different standpoint. And they are correct in their own standpoint. So here Shamika Rishi is doing a higher dharma by meditating upon the Supreme Lord. And the king is coming in. And the king, his body is needing. It's very thirsty, he's feeling a lot of hunger. And is tormented by hunger and thirst. So he's coming and requesting for, that's a natural thing for anybody to do, nothing wrong with it. And it's an open door. He didn't break into the house or anything like that. So the door was open, he walked in, he knocked the door, nobody answered. He walked into the house. And then he didn't even notice that the Rishi was in deep meditation. So he didn't give a closer look at him, perhaps. And Prabhupada explains why. So he felt offended. He thought he was doing it on purpose. And such kind of an offense, not showing due respect to the king, might be forgivable if the king so desires. But actually it is punishable. And it deserves punishment also. So the king thought that it was a momentary, he definitely became a little bewildered. And he thought that this offense should be responded with another offense. By means of, he took the dead snake and put it on the shoulder of the arms of the Rishi. So is this a correct behavior or a wrong behavior? So I would like to hear from you. What do you think is this from a mundane perspective?
Well, Srila Prabhupada says that it's sort of a natural thing for ordinary people, but it was unprecedented for a Joshi, a great central king like Parikshit, to Prabhupada used the word tit-for-tat with what he assumed was the Rishi's neglect. The Rishi didn't even notice it, you know, so.
Yeah, that's true. So there are many perspectives to it. So and there's a reasoning also. So there are different analysis of this, why Maharaj Parikshit did like this. So there is a school of thought which says that Maharaj Parikshit did this because he was influenced by Kali. So he gave places for Kali, and he gave these 4 places which are forbidden. So you have the Striya, and then Shuna, and there are 4 forbidden places where the women are not treated properly, and where there is intoxicants, and where there is meat eating, and where there is gambling. These 4 places. But there is also saying that Kali was not satisfied with these 4 places. He said that there is no place in your kingdom like that. So, when it is said, Maharaj Kali said, okay, wherever there is a lot of gold, you can go to the side there. So then there's a saying that because he gave that place also to Kali, Kali went and sat on because he had a crown decked with gold and decked with diamonds and things. So he went and sat on his head, and he influenced him to act like this. So that is one school of thought.
Sat on whose head?
Sorry?
What do you mean? Whose crown was it that was gold? Kali's crown? Or?
Kali goes and takes control over him because he gives wherever there is a lot of gold, you can stay there.
So he went to the gold.
He went on to sit on his head, and then he influenced him to act like this. So that is a common one of the school of thought to explain this, why it happened in the Indian philosophical lectures. You hear this argument also. But here, Srila Prabhupada is very clearly saying it is not that's not the real reason. The real reason is it was desired by Lord. It happens like this. So I'm trying to explain a little bit on that, why it happens like this. So why it is not so. Why I think it is not the influence of Kali. Because you cannot have a duality here. Either it is Kali or it is Krishna. It cannot be both. So
could Krishna utilize Kali for his purpose?
Yeah, that's another way of putting it. So either it's an indirect way Krishna influences him, or a direct way Krishna influences him. So direct way is, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Apohanam. I give the remembrance, I give the knowledge, and I also give the forgetfulness. So if he wants, Krishna can take away the right discrimination or the right way of thinking, so that something like this can happen. So why would Krishna want this to happen? Because he wants Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken. Right? So if Kali had done this, then Srimad Bhagavatam would have been an indirect outcome. So that is not what Krishna wanted. Krishna wants Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken, and he wants Parikshit to be the first person to hear it. So he made it happen. So that is confirmed again and again. And the Prabhupada is mentioning this, the last few purports we've been seeing. He's been hammering on this point, that it is Krishna who made this. Like to be specific. He says in ordinary course of dealings this was very unnatural. But in this case Maharaj Parikshit dealing with the Brahmana stage is very unprecedented. It so happened with the will of the Lord. So this is not an indirect happening, but it is a directly Krishna wanted this to happen. And that is why it happened. So I'm trying to make some case for it, why I think so. And one is, this is mentioned in the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, Sharartha Varshini also, that he says that it's an ashrama, and it's a place of ashrama, which means that he goes there and he behaves like that in this situation is definitely by the will of the Lord. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is confirming that in his commentary. And also, in another place, I forgot which place it is, but it is confirmed again that it is by Lord's own will that this happens. So, Prabhupada also mentions that if Krishna wants, he can change the situation of a devotee in order to make him more attracted towards him. So he quotes these words from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto also. that Yasyaham Anukrahnami Harishye Taddanam Shanai Tatho Yajanti Asya Svajana Dukkha Dukitam. So if I become extremely merciful towards someone, then I take away his possessions. Not just his possessions, I take away his surroundings, his people, his kinsmen, so that he becomes more attached to me and depends on me alone. So that Krishna can do it. And Prabhupada mentions it in many places that that's what happened to me. So Krishna directly took control over my life. He made me a pauper on the street, took away all my business, he made it fail. And then he made my kinsmen also revolt against me. And so I had to give my wife and take sannyas. And my children did not listen to me, my sons did not listen to me, so there was no other option for me. I had to fulfill my Guru's order. And my kinsmen are not helping in any way. So I had to give them up. And if I had a business, at least I have reason to do my business and see if I can support the spiritual movement. And my business also failed. So I have no reason to continue my business. So everything pushed me towards this decision of completely surrendering into the Supreme Lord. So that's what happens. So when Krishna takes direct control over, sometimes he does that to some devotees. Especially if the devotee was capable to understand it and not get bewildered and not get distracted and lose faith on it. To such devotee, he does sometimes. So in the case of Srila Prabhupada, in the case of here, Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was the Raja Rishi. It's also confirmed here in the verses before, that he was a great saintly king. So he was very detached from his kingdom. He was not attached to his kingdom. But he was doing as a duty. And as a duty, he was protecting his citizens, which is also a devotional service. To do the duty, the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, is a very great devotional service. That's what the whole Varnashrama system is all about. The purpose of Varnashrama system is to perform one's duties for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So that's what makes our situation perfect, and it makes us more favorable towards advancing in spiritual life. Because in general, people are not in a Bhagavata, the platform of doing Bhagavata Dharma priority. So even if they try to be the Bhagavata Dharma platform, they will not sustain for long enough, and they will fall down. Because they may not be able to sustain that, because they don't have enough sukriti to continue like that, enough mercy of the devotees, enough mercy of the Supreme Lord, or the Guru's mercy. Unless we have that, we have the strength of all these three things, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and the Lord's mercy, we cannot sustain in the platform of Bhagavata Dharma. So then, the best is to start with the Varnashrama process. Do one's duty perfectly. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. The whole Bhagavad Gita is all about doing one's duty. And do one's duty for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So that's a very important aspect of Vedic theology. So one has to perform one's duty for the satisfaction of Vishnu. But that's not the highest duty. The highest duty is definitely doing bhakti. So, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Ito Bhakti Radokshite. The highest dharma is to do bhakti to the Supreme Personality of God. There's no doubt about it. But not everybody can be in that platform at all times. So this was also one of the arguments between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the followers of Madhvacharya. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the Udupi, place of the center of the school of Madhvacharya, so there they had the discussion, Lord Chaitanya with Raghuvarya Tirtha, who was the pontiff of the Madhva Math at that point of time. So their discussion was centered on this. With the Sri Sampradaya in Sri Rangam, there are different discussions. So it was about whether Lord Krishna's worship is better or Lord Vishnu's worship is better. But in the Udupi, the discussion was more about whether it is Varnashrama or it is doing Bhakti. But there Lord Chaitanya clearly mentioned that Bhakti is the Panchama Purushartha, or the fifth desirable object. So we have this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, or the following of religious principles or economic development, fulfilling one's desires, and finally coming to the point of desiring for moksha or liberation. These are the four desirables according to the Vedic theology. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this discussion with Raghuvarya Tirtha, he quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam that the highest Purushartha is not any of this. More than moksha, the highest enjoyable or highest desirable object is the bhakti. Bhakti is higher than mukti. So mukti is liberation, but bhakti is more desirable because that gives association of Krishna and that gives the happiness of serving Krishna, which is not comparable with any kind of liberation, any kind of five liberations. So because bhakti, for the sake of bhakti, a devotee even is ready to go to hellish planets. So we learn from Chaitanya Charitamrita how what is his name? His name is the incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Does anyone know?
Vasudev Datta?
Sorry?
Vasudev Datta?
Vasudev Datta. Yes, thank you. So Vasudev Datta, he tells to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let me go to hellish planets. I don't mind. I can take the sin of all the people, but let them all enjoy Krishna consciousness. Let them all enjoy the pure bhakti. So they are ready to go to hellish planets for the sake of bhakti, because that is higher than mukti. So that is the principles Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, we picked and he gave us this principle that bhakti is higher than mukti. So the point here is that for the sake of pure devotees of the Lord, they are ready for anything. Like in this case, Parikshit Maharaj, although he was doing his duty, and he was doing it just for the sake of pleasing the Lord, because he knows by preserving dharma, by enforcing dharma, and teaching the people by one's own example how to perform dharma. So he is establishing a firm platform so that people can progress step by step towards spiritual emancipation, spiritual perfection. So if you don't have a proper platform, then bhakti becomes like an mockery. Right? So that's what happened. We know from the period Srila Prabhupada's lifetime, many times he mentions that Vaishnavism has become a beggar's profession in Bengal, or many places in India. So you go to everyone's house, they say, they sing different tune of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In this house they sing in one tune, and once you get some rice or something, some alms, then the person goes away to the next house. So it has become a beggar profession to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to do all these different things. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he brought in what is Vaishnavism. It was first brought in by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So they established a firm Siddhanta, a firm philosophy of Vaishnavism. They discussed, they defeated many opposing philosophies, Mayavadis or Buddhists or different other philosophers, and established by writing different books on Krishna consciousness a firm foundation and theology for performing devotional service. And there's a lot of emphasis on Varnashrama Dharma also. That's why Srila Prabhupada wanted that devotees perform Varnashrama Dharma. Because doing Bhagavata Dharma is not so easy. And remaining in that platform is very difficult. Unless one is especially empowered by the Supreme Lord and the Guru's mercy and everybody else, Vaishnava's mercy. So one has to perform Varnashrama Dharma. That also purifies one's own existence. Krishna is again and again mentioning this. The 18th chapter also says that even great saints perform Varnashrama Dharma. So here is an example of Parikshit Maharaj. For the sake of establishing Dharma, he is doing this, being a king. But Krishna knows what is the right time. He makes the right moves. That's what happens here. His son is already ready. Janmejaya, that's his son, and he's already ready to take the throne. He has come of age, and the prince is ready to take his position. So Parikshit is a special devotee, and Krishna has picked him for a special purpose, so that Srimad Bhagavatam can be spoken. And so, in order to for that sake, he is making the right moves, and Parikshit somehow or other lost his discrimination, and then he takes a snake and then puts onto the Rishi's arms. So then he realizes his mistake. The very next verse it says that upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation, with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance just to avoid receiving a lower Kshatriya. So he's already been contemplating. As soon as he leaves the place, in the previous verse he is leaving that place and goes to the palace. But all throughout that journey he's been thinking, did I do the right thing? Did I misinterpret the situation? Did I wrongly read the situation? Did I not give proper respect to the sage, who is definitely, at least to me, it occurs to me that now that he is a much more advanced Rishi than what I thought. He's not feigning. Is he not feigning trance? So he has been contemplating on this for quite a while. And when he reaches the palace, he's almost concluded. And this story goes further to, I don't want, maybe I'll leave it for other speakers to draw more perspective to it. But the point here is that Krishna definitely has influenced Parikshit Maharaj to act in this way. And so one cannot say that something like this happened and Krishna wanted this to happen like this. And so we cannot misuse the situation with that. Because Parikshit was a great devotee. And we saw from his future, the coming days of Parikshit, how is he going to be instrumental in Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken. So he's a really great saint. And of course he was blessed by Krishna right in the womb. When he was in the womb, he saw Krishna face to face. And he was searching for Krishna all the while. His name was given as Parikshit because he was comparing. Pariksha means exam. He was examining each and every person. You see the Supreme Lord, person who he saw in the womb, he has been checking all the while. You see the person, you see the person, you see the person. So, Parikshit is a not ordinary person. He was a great devotee, an exemplary devotee, and one of the Mahajans, although not counted amongst the Mahajans, he was a great devotee. And so, this incident is very, very unprecedented. And we should not misuse this situation. So having said that, but there is also a lesson to learn for us, that one has to, how one should conduct. One should not just let his anger control oneself. That's very important. So one should not let his lower emotions take over him. So there is the 5 enemies. We always have this Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Or in other words, Kama is desires, Krodha is anger, Moha is illusion, and Mada is pride, and Matsarya is envy. These 5 enemies are always there, like serpents ready to bite us. And we should be carefully guard against any of these enemies. That's very important for us to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So the best way to do that is to chant our rounds properly and follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, read the Srimad Bhagavatam, read Bhagavad Gita. So by doing so, we will guard against being influenced, being attacked by these 5 enemies. And we can not make mistakes like this. So these mistakes are outcome of lower nature taking over us. So, and Chaitanya, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu gives a very beautiful example of how one should always be careful about one's actions. So it's called as, Krishna says, Mahaprabhu says, the Maryada Parana Haya Sadhura Bhushana, or following this etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette and common etiquette of a good behavior is very important for a sadhu. So because people can easily point out to a devotee, point out to a Vaishnava and say, see, he's doing it, so why not me? It's very easy to point. So Mahaprabhu wants devotees should be exemplary. Because in Kali Yuga, it's the nature of people to find faults. So they are all ready to find faults for even the slightest mistake. So they can overlook all the good things that you have done. They are just looking for a mistake in you. Just like the example of a good example is like a fly. The honeybee and the fly. The honeybee looks for the honey in the flowers. It doesn't go in and search for the different, any kind of dirt or any kind of garbage. But whereas the fly always looks for garbage, anything that is discarded, anything that is putrefying, anything that is fermenting. So it goes and looks for that. That's the nature of a fly. So in the Kali Yuga, people are like that. People are very, very fickle-minded, and the people have a sense of they always want to find fault in people. So a king might be exemplary, or a devotee might be exemplary, but if he does one mistake, they're just going to keep on speaking about that mistake, and then they're going to completely ignore every good thing that they have done. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very cautioning the devotee. One should be very careful about one's behavior. So that's why Srila Prabhupada also, although he was an Uttamadhikari, he came down to the platform of Madhyamadhikari, and he dealt with different people according to the rules of dealings. So with the envious people, he dealt properly. With the people who are very innocent, he gave them instructions. And that way, Madhyamadhikari knows how to deal with people. So Prabhupada was an Uttamadhikari, many times exhibited the nature of his bhava, his emotions of how he is so much completely entranced and in love with Krishna. So, but still, according to the timeless circumstance, he would check himself, his emotions. Because people will misinterpret, and people would feign trance or feign ecstasy. So this is a very important instruction that we can take from this verse. How we should be guarding ourselves from always protecting ourselves by following the Vaishnava etiquette and not make any mistakes and not offend anyone or not make very silly mistakes for people to find fault and blame on the whole movement or blame on the whole, cast any aspersions on one's guru or one's movement and one's spiritual forefathers. We have to be always on the guard to protect ourselves from spy enemies and also follow Vaishnava etiquette to protect ourselves and also protect the movement and protect the Vaishnava Dharma from any kind of ill talk. There's a few words I would like to throw it open for any comments, any questions.
Oh, well, the point about the gold, he said hoarding gold, and actually gold to be used for jewelry or in that case for the crown. That's not hoarding of gold. So that's a false. I don't think that argument
I don't think he says hoarding. I think he said wherever there's gold. I looked for that. I thought, yeah, it must be hoarding, but he says wherever there's gold. I don't think he says that's the gold of gold.
I don't know. I've always maybe I misheard, but I've always heard that that to do with hoarding it, holding on to it, not proper distribution of it. The other thing is that there's a pastime with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I believe it is, and Lord Chaitanya. We were speaking about mukti and bhakti. And his whole life, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was searching for mukti. And after association with Lord Chaitanya, he realized that with bhakti, mukti is like a maidservant. So he went, I heard this in a class being given by Radhanath Swami, so I'm not sure if it's from Chaitanya Bhagavat or from which particular scripture it's from, but Radhanath Swami is giving this example. And so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya goes to Lord Chaitanya and says that I want to change this. There's one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I can't remember whose particular commentary or translation, but he says, it's Vyasadeva, specifically Vyasadeva, that's the term it says, that I want to change Vyasadeva's word. That where it says mukti, it should say bhakti. And Lord Chaitanya says, you want to change Vyasadeva's words? First he says to him, I want to change this verse. Do you want to change the words of Srila Vyasadeva? And he says, yes. He says, what is that? And then he says, I want to change mukti to bhakti. Because bhakti, and then he gives the explanation. Because all my life I'm looking for. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, that is very beautiful. But do not change one word of Srila Vyasadeva. Because he is the literal incarnation of the Lord. So I thought that was kind of interesting in that regard.
Yeah. So there is, I don't know the reference where it says that Kali was given the place where the gold can reside. And maybe it might be an imagination also of some people, but this is a common thinking in the Indian philosophical circle.
Wherever there's gold?
Yeah.
I have the verse here.
What?
It's right in the 17th chapter. He definitely says, Jata Rupa, gold. In Prabhupada's translation is, gave him permission to live where there is gold. Because wherever there is gold, there's also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it's coming from.
Yeah. Well,
And we can see that also.
What?
If anybody gets a lot of money, the whole thinking changes. Greed is never satiated. So more money, want more money.
Yeah.
It never gets.
They never satisfied, they never want. Like they say, the supply side economics. Isn't it? And then it's supposed to trickle down. But the more you give to the rich, the less the rest of the country, the rest of the people get.
The more they plug up the leaks, the more trouble.
This makes sense that Prabhupada said we should not be in or look for the profit motive or not get involved with the profit motive. Because when we start making profit, we start having big bank accounts and things go bad.
Yeah. Whole focus shifts to accumulation.
Right.
I just want to get back to this point that wherever there is gold, there's gold everywhere. So to say wherever there's gold, it just doesn't, that's a pretty wide open statement. My understanding was always that wherever gold is not being properly utilized in a sense of for the glorification of the Lord or redistribution, it's being, okay, but I'm saying that there's, the concept was that gold corrupts, and whenever there's too much gold, there's too much greed. So that is the understanding. It's not just a question of just gold, because then everywhere there's gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very subtle effect. Just like there's another story, I don't remember the reference, but so there was a person who was a rishi, and in order to bewilder him, I don't know if the demigods or someone, but they came and gave him a sword in his hand. So as soon as he got the sword in his hand, he got a feeling that he should do something, cut something, harm someone. Automatically that thought comes. They're very subtle. Mm-hmm. Just like the same way, if you get gold, you want more. The mind, it definitely influences the mind. So Kali being in gold is definitely makes a lot of sense.
Srila Prabhupada also says that about nuclear weapons. He said because they have them, then they're going
You
to
use them.
want to use them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, Prabhu.
Bhagavad Gita 15:15 tells us that Krishna gives us forgetfulness, remembrance,
And knowledge.
and knowledge. So what to do with it? And you had mentioned about the will of the Lord. The second sentence in the verse you read today, by the will of the Lord, the king, while going away, found a dead snake in front of him. So it was Krishna's will that snake had crawled in, as you said, and died right there in the ashram. And it was the will of the Lord that the king saw it. Then he picked it up. Then he started thinking, what can I do with this? I'm going to put this around the Rishi's neck.
He didn't pick it up to pick it up.
He found a dead snake in front of him. And before he even picked it up, he thought of the sage who had coldly received him. And so he used this to get his tit for tat going. He would pick it up and he used it as a garland of the dead snake around the sage's neck. So because he found it, he used it. Yeah. If he had gone the other way, he would just went back to the...
True.
But by Krishna's will, it was there. And he saw it.
Yeah. Krishna again mentions this point in the Bhagavad Gita also. So the senses are the window to the mind. So when the senses get in touch with the sense objects, the mind is automatically pulled into it. So the same way, so you see a snake, then you want to do something with it. You have a sword in hand, you want to do something with it. You have gold, you want to do something with it. You want to hoard more gold and enjoy it yourself. So that is very difficult to overcome that subtle influence from these sense objects. Unless one is really very situated in a solid platform of devotional service, it's very difficult to conquer that. So better is to, just like our shown by Gaur Kishodas Babaji, extreme renunciation. So he would not even hear the word God or anything to do sense enjoyment. So he would keep him completely away from anything to do sense enjoyment. He would sit in the place people pass through, and then he would chant the holy name, so that people will not come to him. He doesn't want. It's even said that it's easy to conquer Kanaka, Kamini, and Pratishta. Kanaka, Kamini, and one more thing before that. So you can even conquer the desire for gold, and you can conquer the desire for women, but it's difficult to conquer Pratishta or self-price. So even if you can conquer the desire for gold and women, it's difficult to conquer price, because it's a subtle necessity or subtle feeling that one should get prized. So even in the advanced stage of devotional service, so sometimes there is a desire to be praised. That's a very dangerous thing to be avoided by devotees.
Praise, yes.
Sorry.
Which is subtle sex.
It kept sounding like rice, and I knew you weren't saying
It's subtle.
Hare Krishna.
Adoration, distinction.
So how should we understand this extreme renunciation exhibited by Lord Kishore Das Babaji and others in relationship to Yukta Vairagya and Srila Prabhupada utilizing money?
That's a nice point.
Yeah.
So why did Gaurika Shuddha Babaji do that? Just to complete my point here. He wanted to avoid praise. So if only he had, he can practice that renunciation. But if you are associated with people, the rich people, they will come, they will give money. So it's going to be very difficult for him to say no. And it's inevitable for him to associate with this people with material mentality. So he wanted to, this is an extreme renunciation that a devotee can have. So this is a lesson for us to learn. This has to be internalized in our heart. So Yukta Vairagya principle teaches us that if we use everything in Krishna service and not kind of keep anything for ourselves, for our enjoyment, and not really even possess a single penny for our own enjoyment. Use everything for Krishna's service, exclusively for Krishna's service. Then it is asked us, that's a point that Gaurishadha Babaji Maharaj is wanting to prove, that if you have it, use it for Krishna's service. Otherwise, don't possess it. That's the lesson that he's trying to give us.
And he was great friends with Bhakti Vinod, and of course Bhakti Siddhanta was his only disciple. So he appreciated them spreading the Sankirtan movement and knowing how to utilize the material energy.
Very nice point.
But he himself was an example of complete renunciation.
You're right, his disciple, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would go Rolls Royce, and he would come with an Englishman dressing to give talks on different things. Although he was in brahmachari throughout his life. Nice.
Yeah, and another way we can surmise that he was actually freeing himself from praise, because at that time in India, he became an object of contempt by many people for doing those things. Oh, what kind of sannyasi is he? And people, other sannyasis, especially from, other schools, would, criticize. He was just forming the Gaudiya Vaishnava school. And so, he didn't have a lot of support. And everybody else was criticizing that he would dare to do these things even. So, that took, someone who was actually completely aloof from praise, to do something like that.
True. Yeah. So, because that's a fly mentality, because they didn't want themselves to progress, they didn't want anybody else to progress. So if somebody was doing spreading Krishna consciousness and right message, and the right philosophy, they don't want that to happen. So fly is always wanting to find a fault in whatever good thing is there. So that's the nature of flies, to find fault. So people, especially in those days, the caste Brahmins, so they wanted to find some or other fault with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's way of spreading Krishna consciousness. So, but there are many such things. So
and it was also the beginning of creating an international institution, and he was formalizing dress, formalizing how money could be collected and how money should be spent, and so many things like that. And so another institution other than the orthodoxy that had always been there. So again, he so much contempt coming from what had always been there. How dare you try to form something else?
It's true. Anybody else has any points, anything to mention?
I think on the topic of gold, I'm a little bit conflicted, because ever since I was a kid, I was taught that gold is a sign of Laxmi. Laxmi is always associated with Vishnu, therefore it's something heavenly, something to be revered and respected.
You answered it. So Lakshmi means it's a possession of Vishnu. It is meant to be used for Krishna service. But if you want to keep it for yourself, then it is Ravana's mentality. Hoarding the Lakshmi for yourself. It has to be used in Krishna service.
But I found it odd that how Kali could be residing in a place where supposedly Lakshmi.
Yeah, Kali will reside in a place where the gold is not utilized for Krishna's purpose. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam 9:47 says that even though a devotee may engage in apparently materialistic activities, he knows his position very well. If one engages all material things in relation to the loving service of the Lord, one is situated in yukta vairagya, proper renunciation. In this material world, nothing should be accepted for one's sense gratification. Everything should be accepted for the service of the Lord. Right. So that's the yukta.
Yeah, that's what is done in the nectar of devotion. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshabhi parityago falgo vairagyam katyate. So it says that what is yukta vairagya, also he describes that Everything has to be seen from relationship with Krishna. This mic belongs to Krishna, it should be used in Krishna's service. This book belongs to Krishna, it is used in Krishna's service. So when we see the Hari Sambandha, or relationship with Krishna and everything, that is what is Yukta Vairagya.
I was just thinking about this hoarding thing. Actually, modern use of gold is always hoarded. Whether you have a little jewelry, or you have a lot, or you have a vault, or whatever, that's what you do with gold. If you're a prepper and you're afraid of, the whole society's going to collapse, or you want some precious metals to trade with, you want to hoard. You're not going to trade with them. If you have $100 bill, you go spend it on something practical. If you have gold, I'm going to keep it because maybe in the future. So gold is always hoarded. It's just too, I don't know. Unless you can use it for Krishna, that's what we do with it.
We can be a Krishna prepper. If you use it for Krishna.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is that to say there's gold everywhere, yeah, there is, and it's always hoarded. In modern age, you don't even, I wouldn't, if I had gold, I wouldn't know how to use it for Krishna, except to sell it and give the money.
True.
I wouldn't know how to use it for Krishna.
Well,
if we have gold jewelry, it'll be stolen. We're not supposed to have expensive, jewelry.
Didn't Prabhupada tell us that real wealth is in the gold, and we should?
Yeah.
It's not wrong to have gold if you.
No, but I mean that's.
Yeah, but he emphasized real wealth is in grain, land, and cows.
Okay.
Yeah.
He emphasizes that more than
Than
gold.
gold.
He emphasizes gold as a
Real money.
standard for
Real money.
Trading.
exchange.
Yes.
Trading.
And then he says in that one verse about he starts speaking against the gold standardization, and maybe it's because once you use it for exchange, you hoard it, and there's Kali right there.
Yeah, gold means everything, not necessarily just gold. Even dollars is also where Kali can use it. So gold doesn't necessarily mean just gold. Everything that we possess, if it is more than necessity, then it becomes a liability for us. It becomes a limitation for our progress in Krishna consciousness. So we should keep only what is necessary and understand it belongs to Krishna. Isha Vashyam idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam viva tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gridam kasya svidhanam. So we should know what is our portion and we should only keep that. Rest we should use in Krishna's service. So that is also taught by the Goswamis. They teach us that we have to keep something for emergencies. 25% for emergencies, 25% for the other relatives, and 50% is used in Krishna's service. Right, Prabhu?
Yes.
Prabhu, is it indirectly saying that wealthy or rich persons are reluctant or would find it difficult to engage themselves in Krishna consciousness or spirituality because of constantly being engaged in the business of profit?
Yeah, it's a very subtle thing. So you might do it as everything should be seen in Krishna's relation with Krishna. Right? So if you're doing a business just for making the profit more and more, it's again a hoarding. So it's definitely going to influence your thought process, and your surrender to Krishna is going to really be affected. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also that whoever is attached to what is that verse? Is that I don't remember that verse, but that says that if you are too much attached to sense enjoyment and other possessions, then it is going to become a big bottleneck for your progress in Krishna consciousness.
Let me say it slightly differently. What I was just trying to say is, let's say for example you have a group of, like a family coming from a line of doctors, and you have a group of people coming from a line of scientists and professors, and then you have like businessmen, like let's say family of Bill Gates. Would you say people who come from a background of doctors or lawyers would find it easier to approach spirituality than a person who comes from a very wealthy background?
It's not necessarily a sin to be born in a wealthy family. It is good, very nice. But everyone needs a proper guru, spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada also had disciples like Ford, and who he engaged him properly. He gave him instruction to build the Mayapur temple, and so one has to know how to engage his money also in Krishna service, not just throw away in an unplanned and in an abrupt way, but it has to be used with a lot of thinking and as per the instruction of spiritual master. That's where it's very important. It should be done in accordance with the guidance of the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas, the devotees. That's why we always need them. So it's not bad to be born in a rich family or to have a lot of money, but we should know how to use it, or at least we should take guidance from someone who knows how to use it, and not be attached. If the person says use everything, we should be ready to use everything also. So when we make a dealing, okay, I will do 50%, then that's where Krishna says that I will reciprocate to you as much you surrender to me. So if you only want to give 50% or 45% or 20%, Krishna is only going to reciprocate so much. And if he thinks it's too much of an impediment to your progress, then Krishna might take away also. It's completely up to him how he deals with the situation. So whatever is, if you are fully surrendered and if you are ready to take it, Krishna, whatever is good for you will do. He may give you more so that you can use in Krishna's service more and more. Or he may take it from you so that you surrender to him. So it's totally up to him. And a devotee becomes whatever is, Krishna knows what is good for us. Just like a father knows what is good for a child. So it will help us in our advancement in Krishna consciousness, either way, whether we lose it or gain it.
Mataji, you got a question?
Well, the conclusion of the Gita is abandon every kind of religion and surrender to me. But during the process of the chapters of the Gita also is the process of giving up. So there are different ways. If you cannot do that 100%, then you can work for me. You know? So there are different things. It doesn't have to be automatic. It doesn't have to be automatic. When devotees came to meet Srila Prabhupada to join him, they wouldn't even follow the principles. Jamuna was in the kitchen and she said to him, I need to go smoke a cigarette. And Prabhupada says, wash your hands.
She hadn't really joined yet. She was a guest.
Yeah.
Time.
Well, whatever, a guest or joined or whatever. But they were not completely, so they started working. So the process is there, pade pade. It's not a full surrender overnight. We have to understand that too, because we have so many lives before us that we have been conditioned, right?
That's true.
So some of us, or some of you, could be a little bit pious. I'm saying some of us because in Mexico, a lot of people are very pious. They are very compassionate, very pious. But at the same time, they don't know the principles, so we have to teach them. But everything is pade pade. We cannot expect from ourselves or from others to be an automatic or overnight surrender because we have been very conditioned. Maybe for Indians, you know a lot, you have the knowledge, you have, the scriptures are there. Maybe it's very easy. But some of you already are very conditioned too. Like he says, the family is being in a line of professions or whatever. That's okay. So work for Krishna, give your percentage, and then Krishna will arrange for you because he will see your heart. And when you're ready to surrender, he will give all the facilities,
Very nice point, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice to hear from you.
Hare
Srila Prabhupada's words, very nice, very
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki
Happy